Roman Rudin, strange occurrence in the region of the heart. Right, so today we're reading The Wind in Rome. Here we go. So we read this page and the following one last time, but let me give you perhaps a very brief overview of the story that we've read so far. So the story appears to be told to us. The person telling the story, I should perhaps say, appears to be the King of Rome or perhaps the Emperor of Rome. And so far in the story, the only name we have is this here, and this is Celestian right here. And he's not the emperor or the king, he's the commander of Rome's navy. And in the story, we quickly find out that there is no wind. And of course, the navy needs wind to be active. And we also find out that Celestian can't stand the lack of wind, also because it's hot, and perhaps because he's a naval commander. He disappears, he runs away to another part of the city. I should say that this story appears to be taking place in Rome, the city of Rome, the capital of the Roman Empire. Another character we meet or come across really is someone described as a crackpot old woman. And if you describe someone as a crackpot, you're basically saying they are mad or describing them as mad. Let's turn over the page. And on this page, at the very beginning, and actually the end of the last page too, we find that there is a very strange occurrence taking place. And it's an optical illusion where it appears that the navy in the bay is in fact in the sky. And that's an optical illusion because that isn't happening in reality. It just looks that way. It seems to be like that, but in reality it isn't. It's just the way the light is reflecting in some fashion or other. But it's quite entertaining for the people in the hot weather. But the other thing we find out is that the emperor or the king feels that the city may be heading towards revolt. And a revolt is something a bit like a riot. But in particular, it's a particular kind of riot where the people are trying to change the government, trying to change perhaps the leader. So, and on this page over here, or this side over here, we find out that the the emperor or the king has sent out spies to find where Celestian is, to track him down, and they do in fact find him. So let me turn over the page and I will start reading from there. So I'm going to read the next two pages, so this one and the following one. Here we go. So just to start with, this appears to be again the king or the emperor's words, I should perhaps say. I need Celestian. Rome's main strength has always been her navy. And now, when that same fleet is twice daily suspended, shimmering somewhere between heaven and water, Rome is growing weak. Our enemies may soon learn of this. But what worries me more than anything else is the notion that those who dwell in the eternal city may already begin may have already begun to forget what the wind is. And I am left with two options: either to let them forget that it ever existed, or to do all in my power to return the wind to Rome. I decide to talk to Celestian myself, and to this end I spend the whole of the following day making my way through the eastern outskirts of Rome trying to remain incognito. I will help you, my sovereign. Celestian is glad I have come, not least as my money will soon run out, and my delightful companions, it seems, have forgotten how to blow. They didn't even bother trying to purse their lips today. Most likely, they have guessed that their client will not be able to keep his head above water much longer. On the way back, we run into an old woman coming the other way. Almost before she caught sight of me, she flinches and presses herself to the wall. The soldiers escorting me seize her by the arms, but I immediately order them to release her. In her eyes I see madness, and I know who it is that stands before me. Tell me, kind woman, how to get back that which is lost without trace. The old woman lifts her hand and stretches it to touch my face. Then she gazes long into my eyes. Finally she says, "In the mountains it was born. Over the sea it was lost. Search in the place where you have not yet looked." You speak no sense, old woman. My rage surges within me. She laughs mockingly, but seemingly she is none the less fearful of my demeanor, because, cutting her laughter off abruptly, she finishes the words she meant to say. You cannot return that which you did not possess. If you find that which you have not lost, you might lose everything which belongs to you, and then also that which you are yet to have. For several days, both as I fall asleep and awaken, the old woman's words are on my lips. But even so, I cannot decipher their meaning. And then I forget about them, for at last Celestian appears, and I must speak to him with the senators convened, whom we will soon persuade that a new military campaign, this time land-based, is vital. As before, there is no wind. Rome is languishing in the heat. When it rains, I close my eyes, for I cannot bear to see the drops fall in perfect vertical lines. The rain brings almost no relief, but that almost is the sole thing which keeps my legions from mutiny. If I do not send Celestian on a campaign to the east, they will bring him or someone else to power. The ruler of such a huge empire as that of Rome must constantly maintain the infinite difference between himself and his subjects. That is, in fact, the main infinite difference between the ruler and the many citizens of Rome who are just waiting for the moment when I become, even if only slightly, the same as them, the same as everyone. The endless military campaigns, the necessity for constantly expanding the empire's borders, my simultaneous presence in several places at once, which is quite inexplicable to the masses. It is, of course, in fact, due to the skillful spread of rumors to that effect. All of these are the inevitable attributes of power, no less than my palaces, my legions, and my concubines. My concubines. My head used to be turned more by the impetuous gallop of a mare with her mane tossing in the wind, by an untamed herd of horses down at the shoreline, challenging the waves and scattering the foam with their hooves. I can watch that forever. At least I could until the wind vanished. Maybe that is why I have always preferred to campaign against naval powers, despite the seasickness which has plagued me since my very childhood.